Hi, welcome to this week's Mind Body Moment. I'm Sherry, Mind Body Wellness Educator and Coach with Pen Pedal Pose. I shared this week in my blog post a story that I really wasn't sure that I wanted to share publicly. But as a mind body wellness educator and coach for women in midlife and beyond, some of whom had asked me to address menopause, I decided that it was time. So I shared in my blog post my personal menopause story. And as I said in my post, there were really three things that added some layers of complexity to my story. Not that it's special and some epic saga. We all have our different stories. But three things that really did add some complexity to it. One was that my final perimenopausal year coincided almost exactly with the onset of COVID 19 and also with the realization that my son was struggling greatly with mental health and substance use issues. Um, the second thing that added some complexity was my identity as a cyclist. My love for cycling meant that I cared a lot about my performance. I wanted to keep riding well, and the changes in my body felt like a direct threat to that identity. That was really hard for me, very frustrating. And then the third thing was my vegan lifestyle. And in some ways, that was the biggest challenge. It was really difficult to find information about managing menopause as a vegan, especially when considering menopausal hormone therapy, which was something that I resisted for quite a long time. So you can read more about each of these aspects in my blog post, and I'll link that below. But what I really want to talk about today is the importance of story in our life. After I shared my menopause story and the layers of complexity that accompanied it, I heard from other women who said that it made a difference for them. One of the reasons that talking openly about our challenges, or one of the reasons that it made a difference for them, is that talking openly about our challenges helps to banish the shame that surrounds them. I thought about this on my bike yesterday, and I realized that each of the layers that I mentioned carried some shame with it for me. Talking openly about these things helps to relieve some feelings of shame. And some of the women who reached out to me told me that it helped to relieve theirs as well. And that means a lot to me because it's really important to me to make a difference through the work I do and what I share. I also learned this about story helping to alleviate shame really vividly during the years of helping my son navigate his struggles. Sharing my story with the Moms in Hope Stream community, which I will link below, and hearing their stories did so much to alleviate the shame, guilt, and fear that I felt during that struggle. Sharing our stories or even journaling about them, so writing just for ourselves, also helps to bring coherence to our experience. By telling the story, we're able to identify kind of how it unfolded and to make sense of the winding path that it may have been. I hadn't really done this with my menopause story. I mean, I knew all the parts, of course, but I hadn't really laid it out in a coherent fashion and everything that was wrapped up about it until I wrote it down for the post. I knew what happened, but there was just no coherent thread until I put it into story form. And this can be really helpful in seeing ourselves compassionately, which is the foundation, I believe, for our wellness, self compassion. Story also helps us connect with others. We see that we're not alone. I found this with the women in Hope Stream community when I first got involved with it nearly 4 years ago. I saw that other loving, educated, involved moms also had kids facing really tough challenges. We could support each other and empathize in a way that no one who hadn't shared the experience can, no matter how much they care. So that's something else that story can do for us, help us to feel less alone. One of the most important aspects of story, in my opinion, is that we have an opportunity to tell a more powerful story by choosing the aspects that we want to emphasize. For example, I can tell a story that my menopause journey has been largely lonely and uncomfortable because I faced it during a time of extreme stress in my life, a global pandemic, and shame around not feeling as strong on the bike or about being tough enough to face it naturally as for some reason I thought a good health minded vegan should. That's one version. Another story I can tell is that I'm incredibly strong and powerful because I navigated menopause during a global pandemic while consistently providing loving support to my son and helping him find his way back to health. On top of that, I kept riding my bike and taking care of my body and mind the best I could, resourcefully experimenting with different things to find solutions that worked for me. Actually, I'm pretty amazing. Both stories are true. It's up to me which one I want to internalize. So, my invitation to you this week is to choose a story that you tell yourself about some aspect of your life. Notice whether it feels draining or empowering. If it isn't empowering in the version that first comes to mind, how could you reframe that story while keeping it entirely true, not changing the facts? But how could you reframe it to serve you better, to help you move forward, feeling better about yourself and ready to take on future challenges? I'd love it if you left me a comment telling me what story you're choosing to reframe more powerfully and how it makes you feel. And you can also reach out to me at the email address that I'll link below if you prefer to have a more private dialogue about it. Also, if you would, please do me a favor, like this video if you do like it, subscribe to my channel, and share it with a friend. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great week.